Hey, thanks for checking us out. Today I'm going to talk about the best way to sell inherited jewelry. So if you're lucky enough to have some jewelry passed down to you or family heirlooms, it might be something that's out of date or something that you are not needing of and you're going to want to sell it. And that's okay, and that happens every day and all the time. But what you're going to want to do is make sure that you sell it in the right way. There's certain ways to sell these items to make sure you're maximizing the value, getting a fair price, and not getting ripped off. And so there's some tips and tricks that I can give you in terms of going about how to sell inherited jewelry. Also, I totally understand that there's a lot of sentimental aspect involved with this, and that you really do want to take good care of when you're selling an item like this. So here's what I would start by doing. The first thing you want to do is you want to identify what you have. So you want to make sure that you know what you have before you go and sell it. Now, what does that mean? So that means that you're going to want to inspect the items, or more specifically, possibly take your items to an expert, a jeweler or an expert in whatever those items are. If there's pearls, for instance, you might want to take it to a pearl expert. Or if they're more standard diamond jewelry, you might just be able to take it to your local jeweler who can give you more information. You might want to buy an appraisal, spend the money to get an appraisal for these items so that you can get a detailed breakdown with an actual value indicator. And you'll want to find a specialized jeweler or appraiser that will do specifically estate type appraisals, which is different than a replacement value on an appraisal. And so that's a conversation you want to have with whoever you take it to and whoever you trust. There's a lot of resources online to figure out what jeweler or what appraiser you might want to take it to. So first step, figure out what you have. Second step, confirm the value of what you have. Now, this can be tricky and this can range quite a bit depending on the item and depending on who's looking at it and if you're selling or if you're buying, but you're gonna at least want to have an idea of the range. So you're gonna know what you have and then get some idea of value. Once you know those two things, then you can actually start shopping the items. I always recommend getting a couple different quotes or couple different buy figures. So you'll want to have a couple conversations with folks in the space that would be buyers. This also will give you an idea of sort of where the market's at and where the pricing should be on those items. So if you got 3 quotes and one quote was for $2,500 and the other one was for $3,000 and the other one was for $3,200, well, okay, you have a good reasonable estimate in terms of what that item should be around that $3,000 mark. And you can do this for all of your items. How do you find these buyers? Again, you're going to want to look at who specializes in what you have, and the items that you've inherited can matter a lot. So you're going to want to find somebody who specializes in those types of items. And then there's a couple different avenues. You can go in person. So like I mentioned, you can go into a jeweler or an appraiser, or there's some estate folks that buy estates or inherited jewelry like this, or antique or vintage jewelry. There's specialties or specialized folks in all of these spaces. Also, there's places online, and there's also auction houses. So it does depend on what you have and what items you've inherited, but those would be 3 different avenues of places I would recommend checking out. So those would be some tips and tricks in terms of how you should go about looking to sell inherited jewelry.